Many people talk about Nikita Kucherov as a natural talent, as if he were born with a golden hockey stick in his hand, and it was clear from the very first moment that he would become an NHL star. As if he had it easy, but the reality is completely different. At a time when his peers were debuting in the National Hockey League as teenagers, Kucherov was still playing in the Russian Junior League, and when he first appeared on the ice in a Tampa Bay jersey, he was already 20 years old. Even then, there were whispers that he was just another skilled Russian who would soon disappear. As an American journalist once wrote, although the world now agrees that Kucherov is one of the most brilliant forwards of the modern era, it did not look that way at all in the beginning. Kucherov was simply different. He did not fit into any mold. He was not huge like Ovechkin, not lightning fast like McDavid. He did not play aggressively, he did not talk to the media, and he did not show emotion. He was an introvert, but once he got the puck, everything made sense. Many scouts overlooked him back then. One of them even remarked that he lacked the physical attributes to succeed overseas. Others claimed his style was too soft for the NHL, and that was likely the reason he was only selected in the second round of the draft. At that time, only a few people, mostly those who really knew him, saw what was in him. That vision, that incredible patience, the ability to read the game, and the cold-blooded finishing that any player would envy. And then came the 2020-21 season. Due to hip surgery, Kucherov missed the entire regular season. No one knew what form he would return in, but what he showed, not even the greatest optimist would have dared to predict. In the first playoff game, before the match, he turned to the coach and said, "Today, it will go well." That evening, he scored 2 goals and added an assist. After more than 5 months without a single game, he was immediately the man of the match. And it is precisely this nature of his, reserved, cold, almost shy, that is the reason why so many people overlooked him at the start. Because while others pushed into the spotlight, Kucherov sat in the corner and then took to the ice to destroy you. This is the story of a player whom everyone overlooked and who eventually conquered the National Hockey League. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe. You won't miss any new videos, and it helps me a lot. Thanks. But to understand where this journey began, we have to go back to a small Russian town where Nikita was born in June 1993. He was a boy who loved skates more than anything else. His parents were not exactly wealthy, and in Russia, this sport was not exactly cheap, but they sacrificed all the more so that Nikita could play. Kucherov was not a child who dominated on the ice right away. He was not the biggest or the strongest, but he had something the other kids did not, an obsession. He was always looking for a way to be better. And that was when it started to show what he would one day become. Coaches said he saw the game completely differently than the others, but he was also reserved. He didn't need to be the center of attention. He didn't talk much to others. He just listened, watched, and learned. His first steps led through small clubs, but his talent could not be overlooked forever. He transferred to the CSKA Moscow junior team, and that was a huge leap for Kucherov. Suddenly, it was no longer just about the joy of playing hockey as a child. It was about fighting for a spot on the roster, for minutes on the ice, and for his own future. He was skinny, quiet, and reserved. You would have said he would never make it in overseas hockey, but when he stepped onto the ice, he had a strange mix of calmness and audacity. He could wait motionless as a defender twice his size rushed at him, then send a pass exactly where his teammate was supposed to be, one of his coaches later recalled. But the reality was not simple. Kucherov did not get as much ice time as he would have liked. He often sat on the bench for entire games or was sent down to lower leagues. But that is exactly what toughened him up. He learned patience and how to be effective even in just a few shifts, and every time he got a chance, he managed to make the most of it. In the junior MHL, he started racking up points at a pace that could no longer be ignored. In a single season, he collected 54 points in 53 games, which earned him his first starts in the KHL. It was not many minutes, no big role, but it only took a few touches of the puck for the fans and coaches to see that this kid had something special. It was a paradox. Kucherov was among the greatest technicians of his generation, but in the CSKA system at the time, that was not an advantage. Russian hockey relied mainly on toughness and physical dominance. Nikita went against the grain, playing with ease, intuition, and creativity. And that is exactly why many looked at him with distrust. At the same time, he began to make his mark on the international stage, first with the under-18 national team and later at the World Junior Championship. He was not a player who would immediately dominate the stats, but he was a player of big moments. He could break a game with a single touch, a goal, a brilliant pass, an unexpected solution. He was a player who could come up with something no one else on the ice saw, said the coach of the Russian youth national team about him. Thanks to these tournaments, people started talking about him overseas as well. National Hockey League scouts were taking notes, but plenty of questions remained. Skinny, unremarkable, physically unprepared. Is this player ready for the National Hockey League? Back then, nobody knew the answer to that question. And so, when the 2011 draft arrived, no one expected him to go high. The Tampa Bay Lightning didn't pick him until the second round, 58th overall, and that perfectly captures just how underrated he was at the time. But this was only the beginning. After the draft, he stayed in Russia, where he alternated between the NHL and the KHL. But the ice time he was getting still did not match his ambitions. That was when he took a bold step that, in hindsight, likely saved his career. He decided to leave for the Canadian Junior League. He adapted to the new league incredibly fast. In the 2012-2013 season, he completely dominated the league, racking up 53 points in 27 games. Every performance proved he could influence the game, not just with goals, but with a complete game all over the ice. Tampa Bay watched his development closely, but before letting him into the National Hockey League, they wanted him to try the American Hockey League first. There, in his first 17 games, he scored 13 goals and had 11 assists, and that was a clear signal for Tampa. And so came the moment Kucherov had been waiting for since he first dreamed of the NHL. Tampa Bay was not in an easy situation. The previous season, they finished in 14th place in the Eastern Conference. The playoffs were nowhere in sight, and management realized it was time for a change. It was not just about individuals, but a complete roster rebuild. The club chose the path of a new generation and gradually began replacing the legends who once wrote its history. Martin St. Louis or Vincent Lecavalier. A whole wave of young players joined the roster who later became the foundation of future success. Ondrej Pala played his first full season and quickly established himself. Tyler Johnson, originally undrafted, developed into one of the leaders. Alongside them, Alex Killorn made his mark, Andre Suster in defense, and Ben Bishop took over as the #1 goalie, a reinforcement from Ottawa who quickly became a pillar of the new era. And among them, Nikita Kucherov, then still an unassuming youngster, but with huge potential. A key role was also played by coach John Cooper, who took over the team in March 2013. It was he who began building a modern style of hockey based on speed, technique, and creativity. At that moment, he did not yet know it, but that was exactly the style that suited Kucherov. When Tampa called him up from the American Hockey League, it was not just because of his stats. He impressed with his style of play, his confidence, and the composure he showed on the ice. He does not care who he is facing. He plays every game as if it were his moment. You do not often see that kind of certainty with the puck, the coaches said. His debut came on November 25th, 2013 against the New York Rangers, and his very first shift brought a moment never to be forgotten. Kucherov got the puck and shot. His first shot in the National Hockey League ended up in the net. The crowd rose, teammates laughed, and the media went wild. The 2013-2014 season was not easy for him. He played 52 games and recorded 18 points. The numbers were not dazzling, but he showed the most important thing, that he has the ability to decide games and turn a small moment into a key point. Coach Cooper, who knew him from the farm team, described him perfectly. He has something in him that you just cannot teach. Instinct. You know he will be a star one day. He just needs time. Tampa took a huge step forward in a single season. They finished third in the Eastern Conference, which was a huge leap after their previous 14th place. The playoffs did not go well, as they were swept by Montreal 4-0, but the team was still finding its identity, and it was clear a new era was being born. And for Kucherov, this was just the beginning of his journey to the top of the NHL. The 2014-2015 season, the year Nikita finally became a threat that every opponent had to account for. Not long ago, he seemed like a rookie searching for his place. But now, he was changing before our eyes. Coach John Cooper started giving him more ice time, more trust, and Kucherov immediately proved he had what separates stars from average players. Together with Tyler Johnson and Andre Palat, they formed a line that went down in Tampa history. 3 young men, 3 different stories, but on the ice, they played as if they had been together their whole lives. Speed, creativity, instinct. Opposing defenses never knew where it would come from, and usually it came from Kucherov, who had the ability to find an opening where there was none. His 29 goals and 65 points in the regular season said it all. It was a message. Tampa has a new scorer, a new offensive weapon, and when the playoffs arrived, a story began to be written that Lightning fans will never forget. The first round against Detroit seemed lost. Tampa was trailing 2-3, and many had already given up. But then came the 6th duel, and with it, Nikita's big night. 3 assists, total dominance, and a turnaround in the series. Tampa pushed it to a 7th game, which they won, and then they just rode the wave of euphoria. Montreal eliminated, Rangers out, and suddenly, the Stanley Cup final. But Chicago was waiting there, the NHL dynasty of that time. Over the last 5 years, they won 2 Stanley Cups and took home their 3rd title after battling Tampa. Still, Kucherov shone 22 points in the playoffs and a clear message to the whole league: I am here and I am not going anywhere. Although everyone expected a decline the following season, the exact opposite happened. The 2015-16 season showed that Kucherov was no flash in the pan. He became the team's engine, a player who took responsibility when the Lightning needed it most. Captain Steven Stamkos struggled with injuries, but Kucherov took over his role as leader. In the regular season, he scored the most points on the entire team and showed that Tampa's future would be built around him. And then, the playoffs again. Nikita literally exploded. Every touch of the puck threatened a goal. Detroit, Islanders, Pittsburgh, they all learned what it is like to face a player who does not shy away in decisive moments. In 17 games, he scored 11 goals and became a nightmare for goalies and a symbol of courage. Steven Stamkos said of him back then, "Kucherov is a huge part of our success. He is a player who can score the most important goals in key moments. He belongs among the 10 best, maybe even the 5 best players in the entire National Hockey League." The 2016-2017 season was supposed to be a continuation of Tampa's rise. After 2 years where the Lightning reached the very top of the East, they were expected to remain among the elite. But in the fall, a hard blow came that shuffled all their plans. Steven Stamkos tore a ligament in his knee and missed practically the entire season. The team lost its biggest star, which, after missing last year's playoffs, meant another difficult test. Tampa had to find a way to survive without its captain, and the loss of Stamkos significantly affected the team's power plays and offensive depth. It was during this crisis that Nikita Kucherov truly stood out. His teammates automatically turned to him in key moments. His form grew with every game, and he soon became the player who dictated the team's pace. Kucherov scored 40 goals and recorded 85 points. He became the clear top scorer for the Lightning, the 2nd best goal scorer behind Crosby, and the 5th highest scoring player in the entire league. His March streak was especially memorable. In 10 games, he scored 12 times and kept the team in the playoff hunt. Yet, even his performance was not enough. Tampa remained just outside the playoffs. just one single win more would have changed everything. After the season, he said himself, "We didn't make the playoffs, and that is the main thing. How many goals I scored is secondary." Opposing defensemen agreed that his shot is almost unreadable. Coach John Cooper added, "Many teams would likely have failed after Stamkos' injury, but Nikita took responsibility. He played with immense confidence and showed he is no longer just part of the lineup. He became its center." The 2017-2018 season began for the Lightning with new energy. Stamkos returned from injury, but the team had to learn new combinations and find a balance between experienced leaders and young faces. The line from previous years was reshaped as Pallet and Johnson rotated through different combinations, and Kucherov adapted to new roles and positions to strengthen the offense as much as possible. In the regular season, he scored 39 goals and added 61 assists, which was one of the main reasons why the Lightning finished the season at the top of the Eastern Conference standings. His ability to react to new formations and exploit open space showed that he can quickly adapt to the team's tactical changes. In the playoffs, the Lightning first easily advanced past the Devils in Boston, but then they ran into the Washington Capitals, who eliminated them after a tense 7-game series. The Capitals eventually won the Stanley Cup, which was a tough but valuable lesson for the Lightning and Kucherov for future seasons. The 2018-2019 season brought further changes. Tampa brought in defenseman Erik Cernak, who significantly strengthened the defense. The team finished the regular season in first place in the Eastern Conference with 128 points and won the President's Trophy as the best team in the league. For the Lightning organization, this was a historic record. Never before had the team collected so many points in a single season. At the same time, Tampa led the league in goals scored, specifically 325, and was extremely effective on the power play with a success rate of 26.2%. And Kucherov? He dominated once again. In 82 games, he scored 41 goals and finished the season with 128 points. He won the Hart Trophy for the most productive player in the National Hockey League and the award for the league's most valuable player. The season seemed to be off to a perfect start. Records were falling one after another, but then came a hard crash in the very first round of the playoffs. Star players, including Kucherov and Braden Point, could not carry their form over from the regular season, and Tampa struggled to capitalize on their power plays. The series ended in a bitter defeat, but it was a valuable lesson for the team, meant to help prepare the Lightning for the next season. And it did. After the disappointment of the previous playoffs, Tampa wanted to prove their strength and finally achieve what everyone longed for, the Stanley Cup. The club was ready and had everything needed for success. After the regular season, they were among the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Specifically, they finished second behind Boston. Due to the pandemic, the National Hockey League changed the format, and the top teams, including Tampa, had a bye in the opening round and started directly in the second. Captain Stamkos unfortunately got injured and played only one game in the playoffs. Fortunately, the team was bolstered by forwards Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow, who were to replace Stamkos and provide needed offense. In the second round, Tampa faced Columbus and won 4-1 in games. The same scenario repeated against Boston. Subsequently, the Lightning eliminated the Islanders and advanced to the Stanley Cup final. There, they faced the Dallas Stars, and the series stretched to 6 games, but Tampa managed it, and Kucherov was able to lift the Dream Stanley Cup above his head after 6 long years. During the final series, he recorded 8 points, and in 25 playoff games, he collected a total of 34 points, a truly incredible performance and proof of his dominance on the ice. The 2020-2021 season began for Tampa after last year's success with huge expectations. The Lightning were one of the main favorites for the Stanley Cup, but the world was still gripped by the pandemic. The National Hockey League, therefore, had to adjust the format. Instead of the classic 82 games, only 56 were played, and teams were divided geographically to minimize flights between the United States and Canada. The main blow to Tampa's plan came when Nikita Kucherov missed the entire regular season due to hip surgery. This also sparked significant controversy. The team placed him on the long-term injured reserve list, which meant his salary did not count against the salary cap. Tampa was able to strengthen the roster with, for example, defenseman David Savard without exceeding the cap. Some critics called it a rule bypass, but the league didn't intervene significantly. When the playoffs came, Kucherov returned. Nobody knew in what shape he would return. After all, he hadn't played hockey for almost 5 months. Nikita scored 2 goals and made 1 assist. Tampa gradually defeated Florida 4-2 and then eliminated the Carolina Hurricanes without much trouble. This is where the waves were stirred up again when defenseman Dougie Hamilton remarked, "We had a great season and lost to a team that is $18 million over the salary cap. Still, nothing major came of it." The Lightning continued past the Islanders and reached the final against Montreal, and they handled the duel. Tampa became the second team in the modern NHL era to successfully defend the Stanley Cup and win 2 titles in a row. After the final victory, Kucherov provided an unforgettable moment at the press conference. He appeared shirtless with an expression that drew attention and declared, "Montreal fans were acting like they had already won the Stanley Cup after 1 single win. That was not the final, that was just 1 game." When the conversation turned to the award for the best goaltender, Kucherov clearly expressed his opinion. And their goalie? Yeah, he played well, but not in this series. "We have the best goalie in the world. Vasi kept us in every game and they give the award to someone else. Last year too. That is total nonsense." His statement quickly went viral and sparked a wide discussion among fans and the media. After missing the entire regular season, Kucherov became one of the most important players in the playoffs. With 32 points in 23 games, he led the postseason in scoring and confirmed that he is among the biggest stars in the entire National Hockey League. The 2021-2022 season began for Tampa already with the label of a dynasty. They won the Stanley Cup twice in a row, which is not common. That made the motivation of their opponents to beat the Lightning even greater. The team also lost several key names due to the salary cap, which opened up space for new players. But right at the start of the season, they were hit by another setback. Nikita Kucherov got injured and was out of the game for several months. He didn't return to the lineup until the second half of the regular season, but his return was felt immediately. Tampa secured a playoff spot and once again showed why they are so hard to stop. The Lightning gradually eliminated Toronto, Florida, and the Rangers, reaching the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd time in a row. This time, however, they ran into Colorado. Their speed and aggressive style of play were too much for the defending champions. Tampa lost the series 2-4. The 2022-23 season had a different feel. After 3 years of playing until the very end, the Lightning began to show fatigue and less roster depth. Kucherov remained a pillar, though. He played all 82 regular season games and racked up 113 points. Still, Tampa fell in the first round of the playoffs this time, losing a tough series to Toronto 2-4. Canadian media wrote that Kucherov remained one of the few who could keep pace with the league's elite. Meanwhile, Coach Cooper emphasized after the elimination that Nikita never stops looking for a way to decide a game, whether by a goal or an assist. But this time, it was not enough. In the following 2 seasons, Tampa made the playoffs each time, but in both cases, they ended in the first round. In the 2023-2024 season, Kucherov recorded his personal points high of 144 points and clearly earned the Hart Trophy for the most productive player in the NHL. He then defended that trophy the following season when he collected 121 points from a player few believed in, and people initially questioned if he even belonged at the National Hockey League level. He developed into one of the most dominant players in the league. As the legendary coach Scotty Bowman once noted, the greatest strength is often shown by those who were doubted the most. If you enjoyed this video, I would be very happy if you subscribed and checked out the other video you see on your screen right now. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye.